In fact, that's now coming out where these companies say, we can't show you your books. We don't even really have them. I mean, it's just, the companies are saying they can't extrapolate how these algorithms are even working, what these computer systems are doing, who owns what debt, how it was leveraged.
Exactly, and that's why no one trusts anybody else. You can't. Who wants to buy Lehman Brothers when you don't know what its liabilities are?
Well, that's my question, because you won one of your 2 Nobel Prizes for coming up with these asymmetrical models or looking at certain strata, something they hadn't done. So I mean, you're an expert on this.
Exactly, and what I cautioned about, I wrote about these problems of asymmetric information, the fact that some people know things that others don't know. But this is, in some ways, a double problem, because not only do others not know, say, what Lehman Brothers may know, Lehman Brothers doesn't know what it ought to know.
Which makes it even harder to say, if you have a fire, no one has a full blueprint of even the building.
Exactly, and so that's where we are in this crisis, and that of course means that no one's willing to lend to anybody else, and that of course restricts credit.
So we have a crisis of trust, not just with the public and the banks, but with the institutions themselves, which sounds like just about as bad a scenario.
Well, it's particularly bad because, our financial institutions are based on trust. I mean, you put your money in the bank, and you trust that you can get your money out. If you didn't trust that, you would never put your money in the bank. So trust is absolutely essential for the functioning of our financial markets, functioning of our economy. And then there's another level of trust. Outsiders, say those in other countries, have to have trust that the American economy is working well. They have to have trust that when the president says everything is going well, it is. Well, this administration has really burned that trust. The president said, there's no problem, just too many houses have been built. Well, if that's the level of analysis that the leader of the United States is giving about what the nature of the economic problems, no wonder everybody around the world is losing a certain amount of confidence.
Well, in fact, in the past, if a president said all is good, the market would go up. Now, if McCain or even Obama or even Bush, anyone seen as a leader, says, we're going to make it out of this, it's okay, markets go down, which shows almost a terminal loss of trust. Now, going back to this asymmetric data, where people can't see around the tree to the other side to see what's on the other side of it. I mean, projecting forward, which you've really been good at. Where do you see this going? How do you see this on the good side unfolding versus on the bad side unfolding?
Well, there's always some uncertainty about what the government is going to do, and I have to say that the uncertainty has increased because there's clearly now an additional element of uncertainty where the government's saying we're going to pick winners, we're going to decide who we bail out and who not, and so if you have your money in the wrong firm, you won't get bailed out. Boy, is that scary to people outside, because they're now making not only an economic bet, they're making a political bet on who springs to the Bush administration or the Fed, and what their judgment about whether there's systemic risk or not.
Well, let me ask you, who are those friends? Is it Chase Manhattan, Citibank, Bank of America?
Well, we don't really know. What we do know, for instance, question, why was it that we bailed out Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? One story that one hears is that there were a lot of investors abroad, some with close connections with one of the firms that the Secretary of Treasury was at before, and so there, the rumors that may have played an important role in the decision to bail out Fannie Mae.
The Saudis and the Chinese, right?
Exactly. So the question is this being done for the American economy? How would American taxpayers feel that if the reason they put billions and billions of their money at risk was to help some people that in other countries, not to help with the American economy? Well, of course, they're always going to say, if we lose the confidence in the American economy, where will we be? But we've lost that confidence.
Joseph Stiglitz, because we've only got you under 10 minutes, I'm going to skip this break and the final break. We're going to ride up to about 32 after with you. So we will continue. Some stations will not carry this, but others will. And you can go to Infowars.com and pick it up as well. Here we go with Joseph Stiglitz, two-time Nobel Prize winner. Well, he's a two-time Nobel Prize winner. He's won one for economics and for peace. And you don't usually win two. He's Joseph Stiglitz. His new book is coming out, The $3 Trillion War, The True Cost of the Iraq Conflict. And I want to spend a few minutes on that before he leaves us. But he brought up, just now, for those listening at Infowars.com, not on the M&FM, he just brought up my next question. He said, I want to talk about the cost on the real economy. And that was my next question. I'm in supposedly this great city of Austin for the economy compared to the rest of the country. Foreclosures everywhere. My dad yesterday driving around saw sheriffs outside 3 houses pulling people out, repossessing them forcibly. Restaurants I've gone to years, I pull into one, it's closed. I pull into another, it's closed. Stuff shutting down. I mean, the real economy is just getting worse and worse. Meanwhile, Bush is going around, when gas was $4 a gallon, saying, no, it's not. And there's just this let them eat cake, even from the Democrats in Congress.
That's right. And it's going to get worse. I mean, basically, when the financial system starts getting weak, it is in a position to provide credit, to provide loans, to provide mortgages, and that means in turn that housing prices are going to go fall further, businesses are going to contract, unemployment is going to grow, and it's a downward vicious cycle.
A snowball.
It's a snowball, and that's where we are. We eventually will emerge from it. We've emerged from every other downturn, so I don't want to be excessively pessimistic, but you have to be in fantasy land to say everything is fine. That and even to say that we have turned the corner. I think we are still in the downward phase of this economic cycle.
We're going into a deepening storm. How much longer does your expertise?
I would say that we should not anticipate emerging from this for a year and a half or longer. So this is going to be this is a different kind of economic downturn from most of those that we've had in the last 75 years. Most of those are what we call inventory cycles. Businesses accumulate a little bit too much inventory.
It's generated from the bottom. This crisis is generated from the top.
Exactly, and it's systemic. It's not just a little excess investment, a little bit too high interest rates. It's basically in the basic institutions of our economy, the financial institutions, and it's going to be a high, difficult road getting out, and it's particularly difficult because for the last 5 years, especially as the war has gone on, we've been a debt economy.
Go back into that because I interrupted you with a break earlier about your book, The Facts You're Laying Out, The $3 Trillion War. Folks need to get it and read it. I mean, what we're dealing with here, why so many fundamentals have been changed.
That's right. I mean, as I mentioned, this is the first war that we have put totally on the credit card. In fact, it's the first war since the Revolutionary War that we had to turn to foreigners to finance, because 40% of our national debt is now being financed by foreigners. We had to borrow $850 billion in recent years per year from foreigners. Here we have the richest country in the world that can't live within its means. Households have been borrowing at an unprecedented level. We mentioned before that national savings rate, the household savings rate was the lowest since it's been since the Great Depression. And the federal government has been piling up debt because it's been borrowing not only to finance the war, but to finance its other operations. So with all that debt, and at the same time, the financial institutions which manage the debt having such trouble, we are in trouble as an economy.
And you're saying the biggest financial threat since the Great Depression, maybe even bigger. Is there some internal bank warfare going on, people using the lack of confidence, using connections to go and basically sabotage and overtake? The case of Bear Stearns down to $2, which clearly that was an overreaction in my humble opinion, and then going and taking that over. I mean, is any of this also market forces inside Wall Street using this to their advantage?
Well, part of the problem is, as I said before, that there is such a lack of transparency that it does give anybody who has some inside information a big advantage over others. But you mentioned that you thought $2 may have been too low for Bear Stearns, but the fact of the matter is, we, the taxpayers, do not know yet, months after the bailout, how much we are at risk for that bailout.
Yeah, that's another point, is we don't know what we're signing on to. We know it's trillions altogether, but I mean, so it's a time bomb. We just got about 2 minutes left with Joseph Stiglitz for folks listening exclusively at Infowars.com and some of the stations that carry it, and then he'll be hopefully back with us in the future as things unfold, because he's one of the most important guests on this subject that we could hope to have, and we're very thankful to have him. The new book is The $3 Trillion War, The True Cost of the Iraq Conflict.